Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if we're truly alone? What if I told you that for over a century, long before we launched our own satellites, something might have been orbiting Earth, something dark, ancient, and mysterious? Some call it space debris. Others believe it's an alien probe that's been watching us for 13,000 years. They call it the Black Knight Satellite. This is one of the most enduring and fascinating mysteries in the history of space exploration, a story that blurs the line between fact, fiction, and our deepest fears about the unknown. So what is the Black Knight? Is it a piece of lost technology, or is it proof that something is out there? Let's unravel the story together. The legend of the Black Knight doesn't actually begin in the cold vacuum of space. It starts right here on Earth, with one of history's most brilliant and eccentric inventors, Nikola Tesla. Back in 1899, while working in his Colorado Springs laboratory, Tesla was experimenting with a powerful radio transmitter. He began picking up strange, rhythmic signals. He was convinced they weren't natural phenomena like lightning, and he even speculated they might be coming from another planet, perhaps Mars. He wrote, "The changes I noted were taking place periodically and with such a clear suggestion of number and order that they were not traceable to any cause known to me." At the time, his claims were largely dismissed. But this was the first seed of the Black Knight legend, a strange, intelligent signal from an unknown source. The story goes quiet for a few decades, but then, in the 1920s and 30s, amateur radio operators started reporting similar phenomena. They were picking up what they called long delay echoes, or LDEs. Essentially, they would transmit a radio signal, and instead of hearing the echo milliseconds later as it bounced off the ionosphere, they would hear it again seconds, sometimes even minutes later. It was as if the signal was traveling a vast distance, far beyond the moon, and being sent back. Scientists were baffled. One theory proposed that a cloud of plasma was trapping and retransmitting the signals. But another, more tantalizing theory emerged. What if something was out there, intentionally capturing and rebroadcasting our signals? At this point, humanity had not yet sent a single object into orbit. The idea of an artificial satellite was still science fiction. Yet these strange radio echoes suggested that something artificial might already be up there, waiting. The mystery deepened dramatically in the 1950s, a time of Cold War paranoia and a burgeoning space race. In 1954, major newspapers like the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the San Francisco Examiner ran sensational headlines. They claimed the U.S. Air Force had detected not one, but two objects orbiting Earth. This was a bombshell. This was 3 years before the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first man-made satellite. If the reports were true, who put them there? The articles were attributed to a retired naval aviation major and UFO researcher named Donald T. Ho, who claimed a high-ranking source had confirmed the discovery. The Pentagon quickly issued a denial, stating there was no evidence of any such objects. The story was officially dismissed as a misinterpretation or a hoax, but the idea had been planted in the public consciousness. The legend now had a physical component, not just strange signals, but mysterious objects in orbit. For years, the Black Knight remained a fringe conspiracy theory, a collection of disconnected reports. But that all changed in 1998. During the Space Shuttle Endeavour's mission STS-88, the very first mission to begin construction of the International Space Station, astronauts captured a series of stunning photographs. The images showed a dark, jagged, and completely unidentifiable object floating against the backdrop of Earth. It looked nothing like a natural meteoroid. It was angular, almost metallic, and had a complex, artificial-looking shape. It didn't resemble any known satellite or piece of space junk from that era. These photos were released by NASA and quickly spread like wildfire across the early Internet. For believers, this was the smoking gun. This was the Black Knight. The photos seemed to confirm everything they had suspected. The object was dark, enigmatic, and clearly not one of ours. It was real, and it was orbiting our planet. The name Black Knight became permanently attached to this mysterious object. So what do supporters of the Black Knight theory actually believe? Well, the claims are extraordinary. The central belief is that this object is an ancient satellite, possibly up to 13,000 years old. This specific number comes from the long delay echo experiments, where some researchers speculated that a signal traveling to and from a probe located at a specific point in space would have that particular delay. Believers claim it's in a near-polar orbit, something that was difficult for us to achieve in the early days of the space race, suggesting a highly advanced origin. The purpose of the Black Knight, they say, is to monitor Earth. It's a silent sentinel, a probe sent by an extraterrestrial civilization long ago to quietly observe humanity's development. The strange signals picked up by Tesla and others were supposedly the Black Knight either communicating with its home world or attempting to communicate with us. For them, the STS-88 photos are the ultimate proof, a glimpse of an ancient alien artifact that has been watching us for millennia. Of course, for every mystery, there's an official explanation, and NASA has one for the Black Knight. According to them, the object photographed during mission STS-88 was nothing more than a piece of space debris. Specifically, it was a thermal blanket. During a spacewalk, a thermal insulation blanket was accidentally lost by astronauts Jerry Ross and James Newman as they were working on the outside of the station. The blanket, as it tumbled away from the shuttle, twisted and crumpled into a strange, irregular shape. Its dark color and reflective surfaces would have made it look metallic and angular in the harsh sunlight of space. NASA states that its orbit and subsequent disappearance are completely consistent with how a lightweight object like a blanket would behave in low Earth orbit before eventually burning up in the atmosphere. To them, the case is closed. The Black Knight was just a lost piece of equipment, a simple accident misinterpreted as something profound. But even with NASA's clear explanation, the mystery persists. Why? Because the thermal blanket only explains the 1998 photos. It doesn't explain the decades of strange reports that came before it. It doesn't explain Nikola Tesla's signals in 1899. It doesn't explain the long delay echoes of the 1920s. And it doesn't explain the newspaper articles from 1954 that reported unknown satellites years before Sputnik. The official explanation addresses the most famous piece of evidence, but it leaves the foundation of the legend untouched. This is why the story refuses to die. For skeptics, the NASA explanation is sufficient. For believers, it's a cover-up, an attempt to hide a truth too monumental for the public to handle. They argue that the term Black Knight was used to describe the anomaly long before the thermal blanket was lost. So how can the blanket be the entire story? So how did this all come together? The legend of the Black Knight satellite is a perfect storm where history, myth, and misunderstanding collide. You have real, documented scientific events like Tesla's radio experiments and the discovery of long-delay echoes. These are factual occurrences that scientists at the time couldn't fully explain. Then you mix in the paranoia and secrecy of the Cold War, a time when both the U.S. and the USSR were secretly developing space technology, leading to rumors and misidentified objects. Add to that the very real problem of space debris, which can look bizarre and unsettling. Then pour on a heavy dose of media exaggeration and the power of the Internet to connect these unrelated dots into a single, cohesive narrative. Over decades, these separate events, Tesla's signals, the LDEs, the 1954 news reports, and the 1998 photos, were woven together into the grand tapestry of the Black Knight legend. Once a mystery like this is launched into the vastness of space, it takes on a life of its own. It becomes almost impossible to bring it back down to Earth. So we're left with a fundamental question. Is the Black Knight satellite proof that an ancient intelligence is watching us? Or is it simply a powerful story, a modern myth born from our fascination with the cosmos and our tendency to see patterns in chaos? The story serves as a fascinating reminder of how easily mystery is created when our technology and our discoveries move faster than our understanding. We point our antennas to the sky and hear something we don't recognize. We send cameras into orbit and see something we can't immediately identify. In that gap between observation and explanation, legends are born. The Black Knight satellite is both history and mystery. The historical events are real, but their connection into a single alien probe story leans heavily toward mystery, fueled by misinterpretation and a very human desire to believe we are not alone. In the end, whether you see a 13,000-year-old alien probe or a lost thermal blanket is up to you. But the story of the Black Knight teaches us something important. It shows our enduring curiosity, our drive to explore the unknown, and our need to find meaning in the static. Perhaps the real value of the Black Knight isn't whether it's real or not, but in the way it makes us look up at the stars and ask, what if? What do you think? Is it a forgotten piece of space junk, or is there more to the story? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown.